Welcome to the Healing Parts of Life podcast, where we explore what it truly means to do the inner work and step into the version of yourself that aligns with your soul's path. Through personal stories and inspiring conversations with like-minded women, this podcast is here to educate, empower, and motivate you to take action on your own healing journey. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to healing, and yet we all wonder how we can create lasting transformation in our lives. That's exactly what we're going to dive into, what the healing process really looks like as we move towards becoming the person you've always been at your soul's core. Along the way, you may encounter moments that trigger or spark something within you. These reactions are simply bringing awareness to the parts of yourself that need attention. Every person and situation you're drawn to is a reflection of something within you. That's why you're here. So sit back, relax, and pay attention to what comes up as you listen. I encourage you to take notes on your thoughts and feelings, allowing them to guide you towards greater self-awareness. I'm honored to support you during this process. Let's begin. Let's test this out and see if it sounds better, because I tried to use my computer and it did not sound good. So, we're using my phone and we are really winging this podcast. It feels like something I really want to do and I want to do well, but I don't know how. And I think that part of learning and growing and becoming the person you were always meant to be is these steps. Because one day I'm going to have a professionally done podcast in some sort of studio under some sort of management, and I'm going to have a team and it's going to be beautiful, but we're not there yet. And that is what this podcast episode is going to be about. This is what my life is about. And I want to take you guys along with me and show you how I'm going to become the person I know I've always been meant to be. And I hope that inspires you to take similar actions, to continue to show up and be the person you at your core have always known you wanted to be. And maybe you're not sure who that is, and that's part of the journey. But I'm here to witness you and for you to witness me, and for us to build community around people doing the thing that scares them, doing the thing that they know is good for them, and just continuing to uplift each other with love, and knowing that just because I want to take up space in this world doesn't mean that you can't also take up space in this world, because there's enough for all of us to go around. My sister told me that the first episode of this podcast really felt like we were just chatting, and that's exactly what I have always wanted in a podcast, because I love to yap and I love to share my thoughts, and what a better way to do that than talking to nobody in the house that I am dog sitting at the time. And I was originally going to do this in my car because that's where I feel like I get my best downloads, but it's winter and filming in the car has come with its challenges, and I'm in this beautiful home right now watching the most adorable dog, and she's so quiet. So I'm going to take this opportunity to record and to continue to show up for myself even when it feels sticky and it feels challenging, because I know that this is the direction that my higher self is going. And that is what I wanted today's podcast episode to be about, to get you guys to learn a little bit more about me and to continue on with the topic of last week of taking inspired action and knowing that there's no wrong way to go about your life. I felt like growing up, I always wanted to, how do I want to say this? Let me drop in real quick. Growing up, I always wanted to help people. I wasn't really sure what that was going to look like, but I remember wanting to make a difference, wanting to well, if we're going really far back, I wanted to be a pop star and I wanted to win American Idol. And who knows, maybe I will make my singing dreams come true one day. But as I got into college and I went for psychology, I knew I always wanted to study psych. It really, really interested me. The mind, the concept of humans always just fascinated me. I took psych and sociology in high school and just loved it. So I majored in psychology in college and continued to take random electives to try and figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life. And I feel like that is what college is all about. But there's this stigma or this like narrative around how you have to have it all together once you graduate and like you're going to go out into the world. And that is essentially true. People do assume that. And I think it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit to expect early 20 somethings to have any idea what they're doing. Why would we? And I say we because I still kind of lump myself in with the 20s, even though I am 26. I'll be turning 27 this year. So by definition, I'm going into my late 20s. But now, because of that, I have so much hindsight. I have so much clarity. And I held so much shame and so much resentment towards myself for not having it all together because that was what was projected onto me by society. When in reality, your 20s is when you're supposed to be figuring it out. This is the first decade of our lives that we truly have autonomy and we're making adult money, whatever that means, and we are in full control of our decisions. And for me, that started with questioning my entire life. My early 20s was entirely about questioning my entire life and really doing deep inner work to find where I'm at now. And it took, honestly, about 5 years. I feel like last year was the first year that I felt most myself, and that's why I'm really excited about this year is to build on top of that. But it took me a long time to find my sense of self, to learn how to trust myself and my own opinion, because I spent the majority of my life being told what to do. Not only that, but I was the youngest of much older siblings. So by default, I picked up things, and that is to nobody's fault, not even my own, because we are in no control over how we perceive when we are young. Psychology lesson 0 to 7, no consciousness. There's no consciousness in your brain when you are from birth to 7 years old, roughly. This is what the science is telling us. And that part of development is so crucial to so many of us because 80% of our beliefs get determined at that time. So as adults, we are operating mostly out of those beliefs that we decided on as children, which we had no control over because we were just perceiving information. So my point in telling you this is that give yourself a break. If you're a 20-something listening to this right now, give yourself a break. We need to release the shame of having it all together because nobody fucking does. I love talking about this now because hindsight is 2020, but I remember my mom used to tell me that she still didn't know what she wanted to be when she grew up. She used to say that to me all the time when I was going into college and like throughout college. And I was like, Mom, that's not helpful. Even though she was trying to get me to understand that it's okay to not have it figured out, in my mind, I was like, I don't want to be in my 50s and not know what I'm doing with my life. Even though she's had an amazing career and raised amazing children and all of these different things, it's so funny how we perceive things. Somebody is just trying to help and we are internalizing that without any conscious awareness of it. And even when you do the inner work, it still takes intentionality. And that is what is so hard to get across to people on the internet because everybody wants to know how to change their life. Everybody wants to know the secret sauce or the 12-step program and like all of these different things. They want to sign up for the course. They want to better themselves. They want to do. And it's all external. And I fell into the trap too. That's exactly what I did when I got out of school. I continued to pound information into my brain about a hustle and motivation, and I don't even know what I was doing, but I was consuming so much so that I burnt out. I burnt myself out, and I needed to essentially tear everything down that I once thought I knew and rebuild my belief system. What do I believe at my core? What are my core values? And that changed everything. Taking intentional time to tune into my body, to get out of my head and tune into my body was crucial, necessary. My body didn't give me a choice. And your body is probably telling you the same thing in different ways. Everybody has something. Everybody has a gut health issue or eczema or severe acne or, like everything that you could possibly have as a diagnosis is trapped emotion in the body coming out as disease. Because the word disease is dis-ease. Your body is at dis-ease, and when it stays at dis-ease, when it stays in fight or flight, you cannot properly heal. You cannot properly regenerate the cells to create new ones, to create all of those amazing things that your body knows how to do. It knows how to heal itself. We are incredible machines. The problem is that we are stuck in fight or flight. We are stuck in a state of like perpetual fear that we can't get our body back to parasympathetics in order to heal. It is simply science. You can call it manifestation, you can call it spirituality, you can call it woo-woo. I don't really care. It's science. It is honestly the way that Eastern and cultures live. Like Chinese medicine talks about this so much. And it's so wild. Like this is so many topics in one, honestly. But it's how I stumbled here. It is how I got here. And I don't have a formula for you. I will never tell you what to do. I will give you suggestions. I will give you modalities. I will bring people onto this podcast that did the same shit I did, which is throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Because at the end of the day, the difference between the people that are successful and the people that aren't are simply the fact that they never stopped trying. So really, what we have to do is change the narrative around fear. Change the narrative around failure. Because let me tell you, as a kid, I was competitive. I would have absolute temper tantrums if I lost a swim meet. Mostly because I was taught that winning was the shit. And that's not to say that like my parents pressured me or anything like that. It was just the culture of my family. We were bred athletes. My grandfather was a legend. I'm just taking a moment because I'm feeling his presence. And I just said was, and he passed this past year. And Pop Up, I love you. Thank you for everything that you've done for our family and for the legacy you left behind. I hope one day I can make you proud. Back to what I was saying. Failure is simply a redirection. It is simply showing you something you needed to learn. Failure doesn't need to be a bad thing. Most things don't actually need to be bad, but we give them that connotation. But if you look at vibration, there's no connotation to vibration. There's just lower vibrational frequencies and higher vibrational frequencies. But what we all tend to struggle with is that we're at this lower vibrational frequency and we want to jump. We want to be up here. We want to be experts. We want to be successful. We want to be up here. We want to be up here. We want to be up here. But really, you're down here. You're feeling down here, so then you consider that to be bad. But really, we just got to work up the ladder of believability, which is something that I'm pretty sure I learned from Gabby Bernstein in Super Attractor, if I'm not mistaken. That's a really good book if you need a book on manifestation and how to live in flow with the universe. Gabby Bernstein, honestly, just look up her whole discography. She's phenomenal. But in her book, Super Attractor, I remember reading about the ladder of believability and how, I don't think she coined this, but like it was in, like, she definitely is the one that I remember hearing about it from. We try so hard to go from low vibrational emotions right up to feeling better. And we just need to go a step. Just a step. She has a formula for it, and I'm blanking on it now, but I'm pretty sure it's to find the right next action. Something that just like bumps you up just one notch on the ladder. So it feels a little bit more bite-sized for the body and the nervous system, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. I am taking this podcast in bite-sized pieces and fumbling my way into it. Because I know if I don't do it that way, I will never get it done. I actually just know that to be true because I've been seeing it over the course of the last couple of years within myself. This is an idea I've had for years, but I've continued to stop myself from doing it because I didn't know how. That was the story I let run the show. We are all letting stories run the show. So in order to change the story, in order to change your life, you have to change the story. It all comes down to, well, I don't even want to say that because there's so many things that it comes down to. But you can do it in bite-sized pieces. That's what I want you to take away from it. You don't have to change your life instantly. In fact, that's an unrealistic expectation that I want you to change. Don't get me wrong. Manifestations can come through very quickly, and your life can change very quickly in a day. There are people that it happened to all the time. But I think what's more sustainable and, dare I say, practical is bite-sized pieces, is taking the expectation and yourself off the pedestal. Because if you constantly look at your future self as something above you, you're never going to reach it. You are already that person. You are already that person. You just have to align your vibrations with it. And I smile and I laugh when I say that because there's a part of me that is still working on that. There's a part of me in my body somewhere, shape, and form that is like, I don't understand. Because I lived my life in prep mode. I lived my life in just in case. And now I'm living in, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. And that was never okay in my household. Never okay. At least it felt that way. My parents are planners. My grandfather was a planner. Like, when you come from planners, when you come from people and honestly society that puts these boxes around things and it's like check, 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 check all these things off. Make sure you know what you're doing from A to Z, just in case. That doesn't work. It literally doesn't work because you can never predict what truly is going to happen. And that's how we're here today. And that is how we're here today because I never gave up. And I'm going to keep saying that. I never gave up because there's definitely a voice in my head that tries to convince me often that if I had just kept going in this direction, I would have been successful by now. But that's not true. Because my life needed to turn out this way. It needed to turn out this way, and I am so grateful it did. I don't want to be an overnight success. I don't want to randomly blow up one day for some random shit. I want to build. I want to show everyone how it's done authentically, naturally, fumbling along the way, because that is real life shit. I will eventually get to where I need to go or want to be. And I will continue to rise from there. I have so many goals and so many ambitions, and I am so tired of playing small. Honestly, I really had to work on that concept of taking up too much space, of being too much, being too loud. I don't even know. Like, if you've gone to therapy, if you've done some of the work, you will start to recognize moments in time when you learned a certain thing. And for me, I do have some of those moments, but I always think back to those memories and I'm so confused. I always felt like the problem. I always felt like the problem in so many of my relationships throughout young years, specifically with females. And I feel so fortunate that I have the friends that I have today. And I had to go through all of that shit to come back to what I know to be true, is that we are all meant to shine. And if a woman or anybody is tearing you down in any way, shape, and form, it is not a you problem. It is a them problem. And letting go of the resentment and the anger I had in my body towards those people, but also towards myself, because I let people walk all over me. It was easier. That was what I decided. It was easier to just shrink and to give in and to not fight. And unfortunately, that led to many years of depression and suicidal ideations. And I needed to go through that. My soul contract signed up for it so that I could be here today to tell you, you do not need to shrink for anybody. You are entirely capable of whatever it is you want out of this lifetime. And you don't have to walk on people to get it. You don't have to use people to get it. You don't have to be slimy. You just have to be in authenticity to you, to your soul, with love. That is what leads you down your soul's path. I believe that to be true. And not everybody's soul's path is to be rich and famous. I believe that you can be rich in your life and feel completely and utterly abundant and amazing in your life and still call in the most amazing things, even in your 9 to 5. If that is what is your jam, I believe that that is your soul's purpose. You were put on this planet to be one of the many workers that we need. And you can find so much abundance and so much fulfillment within that life. There is a place for everyone. And I'm not going to tell you how to get to that place because you know how to get to that place. If anything, I'm going to coach you how to coach yourself. Because that's what we all need, is a little bit more self-coaching. Because that is what truly rewires the brain. When you are able to notice the trigger, allow it to move through you without analyzing or judging, and then asking your body what it is that it's trying to tell you, is a step I fear we are missing. Ask your body. It's a strange concept, I get it. And I was not one to do it. But I sure as hell am now. Because my body has a lot to say, and so does yours. And the more you listen to your body, the more fulfilled you'll feel. Think about it. Everything is in your body. The body is what makes us physically here on this planet. The body is what makes us physically here on this planet. It makes us the 3D, right? All of the systems that are in this human body are here, loud and clear, doing so much without our conscious awareness to keep us alive. It is our job to nurture and to honor the body that is doing all of those things to keep us alive. And it just wants to communicate with us, but it doesn't speak. It doesn't use the English language or any language besides the language of vibration and energy, which are essentially like the same thing. So the next time you get triggered or you have some sort of fight with your partner, and I believe that you have the self-awareness to know, this is definitely coming from my past. Okay, great. Doesn't mean it needs to continue to be your future. It doesn't need to continue to dictate how you move now. This is what they mean when history repeats itself. We are all fighting our own demons all the time. There's so much going on externally. Yes. And I believe the way to fix that is to work on ourselves individually. Because collectively, that'll ripple outward. When you work on yourself, the people around you will start to work on themselves too. And then the people around them will start to work on themselves too. And eventually we will be able to get to a place where love conquers fear. And I know it's going to take some time, and we're in a crazy time in history right now. But I feel really honored to be a part of it. I think about my grandmother, and holy shit, the things that she lived through. I think about it all the time. The stories that she gets to tell, the stories that we will get to tell to our grandchildren about this time in history, where we learn to have love rise. That is truly what I believe to be our future. Now, cannot rise without a little bit of destruction. And that is what doing the inner work is. Doing the inner work is breaking down those old habits, breaking down those old limiting beliefs, and building something new that feels more aligned. Because now you get to choose. You didn't get to choose before, but now you get to choose. Now you get to choose. And you get to hold your younger self that didn't get to choose, and you get to hold their hand and say, I got this. We got this. We're going to do this together. I'm going to show you what it really means to live and what it really means to be worthy and deserving, because we are. You're going to take those action steps because that is what truly aligns with your soul. And you're going to show your younger self that you're not leaving them behind. You're taking them with you because they were right. Our younger selves were right. The imagination, the creativity, the joy, the playfulness, they were right. The world took that away from us. And it's time to get it back. I believe that this is the world we are shifting into. We are all going to collectively feel this. 2026, I just know, is going to be a great year. A year of creation, a year of expansion, a year of blossoming, a year of throwing out the old. We needed 2025, the year of the snake. We needed it to get us to clear the path to right here, right now. And that is what I wanted to express to you during this episode, is that we are all just trying and failing over and over and over again. So please go out there and fail some more, because at least that means you're trying. At least that means you're trying. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for doing the work on yourself. Thank you for wanting to break generational patterns. And we get to learn from other generations. I was sitting at a family dinner the other day and speaking with one of my aunts, and we were just talking about generations and women and how the next generation always thinks that they can do it better. And I think that that's true. I think that some of us have a chip on our shoulder because we're dealing with our emotions and the older generation hasn't, or something like that, for example. But what I think we all need to realize is that, like, we're all just doing the best that we can with the information we have at the time. And we have so much more information now. We have so much more clarity and power that we now get to decide how we're going to move forward. I'm so honored to be a part of the generation that I'm a part of. I'm so fascinated with things that women have gone through in the past and how we are continuing to rise. And in that same breath, how we got to help the men. Ladies, I know we've been doing it for centuries, but we got to help the men. The masculine is as wounded as the feminine. I know that's controversial in some feminine spaces, but arguably, I don't want to say one's more wounded than the other because they are both so wounded. The feminine and the masculine, we are both so wounded. It goes back centuries, you guys. Like, we have to stop pointing the fingers and continuing to have these huge pendulum swings where it's so extreme. There is a balance that needs to be had, and I believe that we are starting to find that. But continue to nurture the men. The masculine energy has been wounded just as long as the feminine, and I understand that women have been suppressed for so long, but so have the men. So have the men. In a different way. Actually, in like the same way as us. They just benefited in other ways, but men don't know how to deal with their emotions. That's not a new phenomenon. And if we are really going to be able to change the world and change our culture and our society and how we show up in this world, men have to get on board. Emotions need to be felt. That is what is truly experiencing what living is. Feeling. Being in the human body. Getting out of fight or flight. Because we are not meant to struggle. We are not meant to fight all day long. I do believe that we are meant to flow with ease. And that requires the deep inner work to reprogram the mind, because we are all operating from systems that were set up when we were so young. So the way forward is to dig up the past and to recognize what your limiting beliefs are, what your autopilot responses are, and how we can decide differently, how we can take more intentional action that aligns with our soul. That is what I truly believe to be intentional living. This has been phenomenal to sit here and to yap like this. I love it. I think I'm ready to pull a card. I'm just going to continue to see what comes up week to week. This is probably going to go out next week. And I literally did not give myself any sort of like, I'm going to post every day or every week on this particular day of the week, because I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe at some point this will be a weekly podcast, but I'm still figuring it out and it takes me a while to do so. So thank you for bearing with me on this journey of figuring it out as we go, because that's the name of the game. And I want everybody to recognize that. Everybody's just doing the same thing. We're all just trying to figure it out as we go. So whatever voice is telling you that you have to be some sort of expert before you even start is lying. They're lying to you. It's just the voices in your head. Alrighty, y'all. Did I just say y'all? Wow, haven't done that in a while. Let's pull a card. What a beautiful message this has been. Spirit, what is the collective card that needs to be on the second episode of the podcast? It's manifest. It's manifest. Manifest. To manifest is to feel. You cannot intentionally manifest without really being able to feel, because here's the thing about manifesting. You're manifesting whether or not you realize it or not. Like, everybody's manifesting all the time, because manifesting is simply like frequencies meeting like frequencies. So whatever you are focusing on in your energy body is manifesting. So, for instance, if you hate your job and you are just dreading it, you feel like you're never going to get out of this cycle, this, that, and the other thing, like, you're just like dragging along. If you're stuck in that energy, you gotta focus on ladder of believability. What's the next emotion up from what you're feeling right now? Literally Google this. Thank you for tuning in. Share this with a friend. Please leave a review if you have some time, so that more people can start to find this podcast as well. And yeah, we can continue to build a healing community and a space for particularly women, but men as well, feel safe to express and to be themselves and to fail forward. And yeah, with all of that, I send you so much of my love, and thanks for listening.